Hey everyone, Susan in Blink Space Studio. Hope you're all doing really good out there. Just bringing you the second tutorial for the Celtic Knots, as I promised you last time. Last time we were just doing basic squares and just giving you the very, very basics. This time we're going to up the ante a little bit. We're going to add in things like curves and just show you how there's different ways to design the actual knots themselves. So it's just going to be a draw along, so just watch me do it. There's going to be no writing on the screen or anything like that. So, okay, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. Alright, just before we get going, I just want to show you a few things that I'll be doing in this tutorial, just so that, you know, it doesn't get confusing with it. It is pretty easy, but on the grid, the reason that I use a grid, I'll get some light coming in here. The reason that I use a grid is to literally just use it to keep the lines straight. So let's say in the first one we had the X's. Now if you notice, I'm using the actual corners here to make sure that the X's are straight. So some people use dots, do you know what I mean? So you literally join the dots with the other method, and they use that to obviously have less lines on the page, but I like to use the grids. So on another way, like, so you have your square here, there's another way of using the line, and that's half circles. So, well, I call them curves. So you have, like, let's say if you see the center of the page here, and this is just a general guide, so you can just draw curves like that. Now again, it depends on the actual design itself, but now there's other things, like you can, instead of doing the X like this, you can bring the X all the way down to this line here and all the way down here. So we're using two squares to stretch the X out, and you can do the same with the curves. I usually like to hit the center of the two squares, just to try and keep it. Now, you're not going to get it perfect. I mean, like, if you don't, it's not a big deal. It's just so that you can, it just makes it easier when you're editing the line later on. So much easier. There's another thing that I do, that I just like to do this. Let's say if we had like a curve like this, sometimes I like to just turn that into a spike. So if you do that, you just rub out the curve bit. Now you'll probably see a lot of these later on. I just like using spikes. Another way of doing that is to use the corner like this, like a part of an X, and then just draw a curve here instead. So it's kind of like a I don't know, tooth or dragon spike or something like that, you know. So like that. Now you could bring this over, you could, you know, there's different ways. There's loads of different ways to use the squares. Sorry, and I'll show you how I can just randomly just make a design. But just so you know, we might be doing these in the later knots, just so you can get a visual idea. Okay, let's do this. Okay, now so we're just going to just copy what I'm doing here. I'm going to cut the audio out. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just start here. We're just going to start drawing in these curves first because they're on the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have it on the outside now, you can't see it. Okay, and then there's an X here. There's X's all the way down here actually, so that's pretty easy. X. X. Okay, the next line, there's an X here. And then there's a curve here. There's another one on this side. It's just like a half circle. And there's an X on this one. There's a curve here. So we're just going to do the inside and the outside to thicken the line. That's all we're doing here. Just like before. If you haven't seen the basic video, I would suggest you go and watch it so you don't get all confused. It's pretty easy once you get the actual design down. You can see the whole knot. Then all you have to do is thicken the line, get rid of the original line, and then just do the 3D effect, which is the over and under. So obviously, to thicken the line, the closer the line is to the original, the thinner it will be, and the further away, the thicker it will be. So it depends on how tight you want it to be, really, because sometimes it can get a bit squashy. So I would suggest giving yourself a little bit of negative space, give yourself a bit of room. Now I do this one. There's other methods of doing knots, actually designing them, and other people use dot systems, which pretty much means that you do the knot from the outside. But personally, I can't get my head around that system. It's visually confusing to me, so this is why I use this. It does take longer using this system, but I find it a lot easier to understand, to actually visually see what I'm doing. And I can actually design the entire knot first and make sure that I'm okay with it before I even go after it, which means that I can do really big knots, and I'm going to show you that probably in the next video. But for now, we're just going to keep practicing the smaller ones. These are a little bit more complicated, but nothing too mad, like I was saying in the intro. This is easy enough. Yeah, just feel free to pause the video anytime. It's no big deal. At some stage you won't even need these videos, you'll be designing your own knots, which would be great. I felt really great when I started designing my own knots as well. It just felt really good. Okay, so we finished thickening the line, so all we have to do now is just rub out all of the original line now, because we don't need it. The original line was just to kind of give yourself an idea of what the knot is going to look like the entire thing. So we're just going to do this. Okay, there. So you're just going to be left with what I call a waffle shape. It looks like a waffle, like a potato waffle. Just be a bunch of holes, really. Okay, so now the last bit, well, the second last bit for me, because I like to ink it in. So now we're just going to do the 3D effect, which is the over and under. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of having bridges going over roads. I think it's visually, I like to have it in my head to draw bridges over roads. So for some reason, I do whichever way you want. It doesn't matter once you follow the rules. But generally speaking, I always just start going left first. I don't know why. So if it goes over, it absolutely has to go under the next time. So you see the road going under the bridge here. So you continue on the road here, you know. So we have another road going here under a bridge. If it goes under, then it goes over this road, if you know what I mean. So you just continued on. Like, I'll show you what happens when you do an over and over in a second. So let's say we've a bridge going over here. If I went over here, you see it ruins the effect completely, and nothing's gonna make sense. So if you ever do that, just rub it out. It's no big deal. Just rub it out like that, and then just correct it. Just say that's going over, so now it can go over this time. And that's pretty much like, that's it. That's all you have to do. That's going under a bridge, so now you're going over again. Super easy peasy, just like that. And just do that for the whole knot, and just make sure that you know whereabouts. Like, keep an eye on what you're doing, because these knots get very, very big. And I've done this before where I make a mistake and you spend a long time trying to figure out where you did that mistake. So it's best to just get it right and just go slow at the start, and just make sure you know which is going over and which is going under. That's pretty much it. That's how you, like, if you can do that, you can draw knots as big as the driveway outside your house. They can be as big as you want. Obviously they're going to take longer, but I mean, I'm going to see if I can do a knot that's on a roll of paper. Like, it's going to take forever. The A1 knot that I did, that I showed you in the last video, took about 120 hours. So I don't know, do the math. That's obviously not in one go, because your eyes would fall out and your back would be quite sore, but you know, took a couple of days. It took about 3 or 4 days to comfortably sit down and do all of this legwork. The satisfying result is always worth it. It kind of reminds me of, like, you know, 2D animation versus 3D. Like, there's something about just physically drawing it the longer way without using computers. I'm just old school like that. It's fine if you use computers. I'm not anti-computer, you know, digital art. I think that's all cool. That still takes effort. I just like having a pencil. I don't know. It's weird. Okay, so we finished that. So if there's any parts of it that you don't like, which, just straighten them up before you ink it in. It just makes it easier to be accurate when you're inking it in. Right, I'm just going to grab my ink pen. Which one is this? Doesn't really matter now for this video. Let's see if I can get a big one. I don't actually have one. Okay, so I'm just going to use this one. This is only a size 4. Now, usually for this I'd use a 7, but I'm just going to do this now. So yeah, just ink it all in. And this is the part where you can really see the knot kind of coming out. Now I'm just going to do this rough. I'm not even being careful here, and I've been doing this for a long time, so it's not as hard. It's kind of like muscle memory, you know. The more you do it, the more your wrists will behave. And these pens are great. They don't scratch against the paper. They do what they're told. It's pretty nice, smooth drawing. And Right, so we're just going to finish this, and then we're just going to move on to the next one. We're going to move on to something that's a little bit bigger and just different. So again, we're just going to get used to doing different types of lines and using the squares to design the knot itself. So it's, and once you get a few of them done, you'll start to get an idea for how you can just design them yourself and just play. It's like a Lego box, you know, you just use the squares to design different ones, and it gets pretty addictive, I have to say. And after a while you'll start to do the same things, you know, that's what I find anyway. I actually learned how to do this from an artist called Sheila Sturrock. I think that's how you say her surname. But she's got a little workbook on Amazon. It's jam-packed full of these knots. Like, she's the one that taught me how to do this method, because I just couldn't understand the other methods. There's so many books out there on Celtic knots, and I found this one way easier than the other ones, just because this is how I would understand visually. It's just easier for me. Other people don't like doing it this way. That's fine. I just find that if I use this way, I can just do bigger knots, because the design is already done. All you have to do is tweak it, that's all. It's actually, I find it just so much easier. But yeah, she goes into, like, you know, you see these little curves, and there's you can probably see that there's a little heart design here. She does those as well. And again, you just work through it. Her book's really cheap, actually. I think it's probably around a euro. Well, I'm in Ireland, so I use euros, but dollars. I'm not sure if it's on Amazon.com in the American one, but it's definitely in the UK one. And I have 2 copies of it. I always have one with me. And it's quite small. It's only an A5 type, A5 size book, so it's easier to carry around with you, especially if you've got a little A5 notepad, and just draw a bunch of grids on it, and then away you go. You can practice away, like, you know. So there you go. There's another little small one. I'm going to do some more complicated ones later on. And so again, you can just shade this in. Now the shading, I like to just have the inside of it darker, and then just have it come lighter as you go out, just to create that kind of shadow effect. That's all it is. So you just lean down a little bit more on the inside, and as you go out, you just lift your pencil up. It's a little bit lighter. So that's it. That's how I do it. I'm going to shut up now and just shade the rest of this, and then we'll get on to the next one. If you want to skip on ahead, you do whatever you have to do. It's all good. And yes, that was my stomach growling, if anyone heard that. I haven't eaten today. I forgot to. I wonder if the microphone picked that up. I actually just got a new microphone just for this video. It's actually a lot easier to just talk instead of typing all this out and putting it up on the screen, and you guys won't be annoyed by having to pause it and, you know, all that stuff. I'm actually really looking forward to showing you some of the other designs. They're pretty cool. I don't actually, well, I suppose I could In Sheila's book, she shows you how to do like things like corners, and then there's like circle knots and all that. Like I've done all of those. I just I'm not sure if I'm going to include them in here or not. Maybe in the next video, if you know what I mean. So we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. This is just, I'm doing this on the fly. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just showing you guys what I do, you know. But yeah, she does really cool stuff. Like she does like lettering and, you know, animals. It's other things like, you know, how to do a random shape and you know, fill it with a Celtic knot. So that would be more freestyle. I've done that before. It's a lot of fun. If you know the kind of shape that you're looking for, you know, like if you want a cross or a heart or just a random, completely random shape that you just want to fill. It's a lot of fun to just play around. And once you know how to do like this part, it's the very, very same for the freestyle ones that don't have a grid. You just draw I'll show you later. You can just draw a line going over and under each other, and then just do the exact same thing, just thicken the line and then just rub out the original, do the over and under, and that's it. It's pretty simple stuff. I think the hardest part is just designing them, you know. Just most artists, you know, when they see a blank page, it can be a bit daunting, but once you get going, the ideas start to come. Like, you know, I think the easiest way to do it is just sit down and start. I know I said I was going to shut up, but sometimes I just keep talking. It's fine. And I don't even know if anyone's listening to this, because, you know, I could be just sitting here talking away to myself. Right, and there we go. There we go. If you need to rewind it or anything like that, just rewind and have a look and see. I'll just leave the video there, and I will see you in the next one.